So what's the get down?
Hip Hop Cultural Lifestyle Show.
I'm digging all of it. I'm digging the hustle. I'm digging the grind for sure. I don't dig all the lyrics, but there's certain cats that I get. Now the one thing that I do think as far as the trap that they're falling into. I mean, there's some still like creative individuals like the Travis Scotts and J. Cole and Kendrick and all of them. They're not pigeonholed into any one style.
But it's like cats say, they're not young no more. They're not considered young no more. You got cats like
well, they're young to me.
Like I can dig it, but they're not the ones that the children are listening to. You dig it?
You know what? Only reason why I say I beg to differ on that because I got an 18-year-old, 19-year-old now, a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they still listening to it. But if you really want to take it to, which I was going to segue to, which those kind of cats to me are, they're young to me and they've been doing it for a little while and their music has progressed. It's constantly, Kendrick doesn't sound nothing today as like he sound 10 years ago when them tapes was out, and he sounds totally different. As J. Cole does, as like I said, some of the creative artists like Travis Scott and stuff like that. But the one thing I think that these young cats are kind of falling into right now, where I just think that they need to watch it, is they're falling into that trap where everybody needs to sound exactly the same. Everybody has the doon, 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 and everybody kind of, hey, bitch, it is something. Something. I said, okay, I understand that that's a certain style of music, and just like even with the drill music, I mean, the drill, it took me a minute to get into the drill music, but once I took my own ego and opinion out of it and just started listening to what it is for what it actually is, I started to understand it. My only thing is, I just don't want them to just get pigeonholed into that style where everything becomes just that style and then that's all they doing. I'll give you the same thing in reverse. Same thing I got with old cats right now. Old cats meaning myself and people of my era that's still relevant into the business, still want to do their shit because, unlike sports, rap ain't a young man's game. Even though everybody keeps trying to portray it as a young man's game, but it really is not because we don't depend on physical ability to be able to rap. It's a mental thing. And the older I get, the sharper I get and the more knowledge that I retain. So my thing is, I kind of get turned off by old niggas who still sound like old niggas. It's like, y'all old niggas who was the shit in 1990 something, the early 2000s, like you can't still rap that way. You gotta update your resume and kind of make it new. I'm not saying it ain't relevant because there's people still from our genre that still want to hear that music. I just want y'all to challenge yourself a little bit more and update it and stop sounding so dated. We can't control what these young cats is gonna think, man. The young cats is gonna have a certain perspective about us anyway, right? My whole thing is, if we spitting some good shit and our beats is up to date, not necessarily the same beats that they're doing, not necessarily the same beats they're doing, but every now and then maybe you could throw one in and show niggas that what we would do on a type of beat like that. But that's not really the goal of trying to infiltrate their music. But what I will say is, if you update your shit, and I mean, I come from an era like, look, man, this is the era I come from. I come from the era of, you couldn't even say the same words as other cats did when they rhyme. Like if I said,
word up.
If I just said royalty, and the next nigga wrote a rap and he put royalty in his bar, nah, bro, that's not gonna work. That's my word. So I mean, we all came from an era to where we all had to be unique. We all had to kind of rap a little different. We all had to keep like, even though there was certain rappers that had their style, like, like they were political rappers, or they were party rappers, or they were hardcore rappers, they still managed to put a song about a female in there, a song about something else in there, something that just kept your creativity going. Because my whole shit is, I don't want to sound like everybody else, but also when I play my music, I don't want you to go, damn, that nigga still sounds like Tyson. No, I don't. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm proud of what I did, and and I'm glad, like, it's afforded me opportunities like this to speak on the Get Down. But my whole thing is, like, I'm steadily trying to push the culture forward, and it just sounds crazy coming from an older dude as far as this game is considered, because it, even though, like, people say it's a young man's game, I don't really think it's a young man's game, because look, case in point, who's running shit right now? Come on, man. Jay is still relevant. Nas is still relevant. All these dudes are still relevant. So, when you say, are we trying to fit into the young game? Nah, we ain't trying to fit in, but you know what? Check this out. Y'all may be able to learn a little bit of something, and if we make dope enough music, if we make dope enough music, they'll get it.
All right, so let's stick with this with the part there where you were popping it about it being a young man's game, not being a young man's game. How come, in your opinion, why is it not just looked at as music? Why does it have to? Because other genres, they don't do that. You dig? Mm-hmm. If the Rolling Stones drop an album tomorrow, that motherfucker gonna probably break the internet. You know what I'm saying? YouTube. You dig what I'm popping? Country music got their own situation. Yeah. They give awards out, it seems like 4-5 times out a year. Mm-hmm. So what is the issue when it comes to, because I kind of separated, you got hip hop music and you got rap. Mm-hmm. You dig?
I believe that.
So what is the issue when it comes to the music?
Niggas.
Well, I ain't teach on that broom.
And and I'm just gonna say that, and I hate to, you just say it in that fashion, but it's just niggas, man. I mean, that's just what we do. Unfortunately, we always got to find some way to kind of like either outdo or exclude you from on some sort of point. Like, okay, like, y'all niggas old though, or y'all niggas young though, or we doing this type of thing. It's always some kind of separation we always separating from each other instead of including. We're for some reason, and I mean, I can't speak on the history because I don't know that much about the history, although I know a lot. But I mean, this is a deep-rooted issue that we have just us amongst brothers. For some reason, it's not a community of inclusion. It's a community of exclusion, and we always trying to figure out how we can be better than our brother instead of pulling our brother along with us. And that's just something deep-rooted that's been, indoctrinated into us for hundreds of years. And I mean, but it's always been like that, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's anything. We always trying to find an edge to be better than our brother for some reason. And I wish it wasn't like that, but I mean, shit, it is what it is.
So you don't see it changing in any type of fashion?
No, I don't really see it changing. I mean, I don't want to say I don't see it changing. What I do see is I do see more acceptance coming down the road, that it will be more acceptance because of the fact that we do have, cats that was really prolific at what they did, starting to do it more. Shows are starting to open up more. We're starting to see more of these cats doing shows. It's something that I wanted to do too. I got a great idea behind doing something that actually includes that mature crowd.
But you already do all of those shows. You know what I'm saying? Me out here, like when they do, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't Rock the Bells. It was the old school, the ones where they always have. You know what I'm popping?
Yeah.
And so it's like.
But the one thing I will say, it's always the same lineup. It's always the same cats.
I got you.
It's always, so I'm just talking about even for those cats that wasn't.
I got you.
as prolific as those same dudes that you see on all the same shows. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely those cats that you see on those shows deserve those shows. Like the How the West Was Won and all those shows that they got, man. Hey, I wouldn't change that for the world. But at the same time, there still could be an avenue as to where people who maybe weren't on that level could still have some sort of participation. I know I've been seeing some stuff that, and I hope this ain't true because I heard they was talking about shutting down, regentrifying or doing something with Leimert Park over there. But I remember they had something over at Leimert Park and they had a bunch of people on their bill I'd never heard of. And I was like, see, that's the type of shit that I'm talking about, to where, like, you know, people who are not as critically acclaimed can still get a bite at this pie, man, because I mean, it's enough out here for all of us. It really is. Fortunately for me, my goal is transition from trying to be that dude to, man, you know what, man, I left this game 2007. I think that was the last 2000, was it 2007, 2003, 2007, maybe it was 2007. And I did a remix for Nas. Nas had a song out called Where Are They Now? And it was on one of his albums, and he commissioned Bobcat, DJ Bobcat, to do a West Coast version. So it was like me, Cam, Candyman. It was like a lot of us on there. And like for 13 years, like I was disinterested in the music. I fell out of love, you know, but you know, 2-3 years ago, I kind of found that love again. So it's like now I just do music now just for the love. And you know what? I don't just want to be what we call a hard drive star, a hard drive star in the studio. I want to get out and be able to do certain things. Just like there's a lot of cats my age who may not been that critically acclaimed, like I said, that still's got something to say and a voice to lend to, hip hop, man. I think we should all be included.
I dig that, you know. So, all right, we ain't gonna pop it about your idea right here on
No.
No,
the game is sold, not told.
Dig it. Well, so I'm looking at it from the standpoint. I mean, well, I know more than what the people know. So, but if somebody is if they're a West Coast fan, all right, what made you fall out of love with the music?
Man, it was just the business aspect of it. I mean, my story goes deep. I was talking to you like a while ago, and I gave you like a little bit of background because you knew me musically, but you didn't know kind of like where this all started. Right. So just to give like just a little brief synopsis, because I'd like everyone else to hear this as well. I'm originally from the Bronx. I'm originally from New York. I moved out to California, to LA when I was 14 years old. So I originally came, this some crazy shit. I originally came here when I was 12, and I stayed 1 year, and I went to 135th Street Elementary School, right? I think I went to 6th grade, and then I went back to New York because, whatever. And I went back to New York, and then I came back 2 years later. So like once I came back 2 years later, see me, I had a jump on everybody out here because I grew up in that era of jams in the parks and everybody bringing the Cold Crush Brothers, Treacherous 3, Force MDs, all of that. And I used to have all the mixtapes. So, I had a little jump as far as hip hop is concerned. So when I got out here, I was mainly a listener and a consumer when I was in New York. But when I got to LA, I'm like, shit, I want to do this too. So I actually really started writing and becoming an MC in LA. Even though I'm from New York, I became an MC in LA. So after, writing and, battling, certain people that, finally got onto it probably a couple of years later to where it was a lot more people rapping. There was still people rapping, but it was a little bit more a faster brand of hip hop out here instead of just bars. It was really more about, to me, it was more about like the beats. I don't even want to say the DJs. It was more about
what were the
beats.
groups at the time?
Out here was like Egyptian Lover, Dream Team, Wrecking Crew, groups like that. And so my whole thing was, I had my way of doing things. So long story short, I was going to high school out here. I was going to Poly High School in Sun Valley. And I used to battle whoever could rap to come around from any school. We used to battle at this place across the street called Burger Basket. And just so happens, one of the dudes who was there that was seeing me battle that went to school, his sister was dating one of the dudes from Uncle Jam's Army. So I ended up meeting him. And then, you know, I went out and performed at some place in Antelope Valley. And then they brought me to Roger Clayton, blessed dead, R.I.P. Roger Clayton, who's Uncle Jam. So Uncle Jam took me to, Roger took us to the BRE. It used to be a convention out here called the Black Radio Exclusive. So he took me to the Black Radio Exclusive, and Russell Simmons was there. That's what, you know, he was the god of rap, right? Def Jam was the label. I mean, even though we have Macola and, you know, stuff like that out here, but Def Jam is where you want it to be. So, man, everybody, the shit was crazy. It was like a line. I swear to God, it was probably like 50 to 100 people lined up to play their music for Russell. And, yo, we watched him tape after tape. Take niggas tape, toss it to the side. Take it, toss it to the side. Nah. So when it was my turn to go, he played my joint. I had a song called Popcorn, and I had another song called like My Deaf Beat or something like that. And he played it, and he stopped it, and he rewound it. And then he played it again. He was like, yo, this shit kind of dope, or deaf, or whatever the word was back then, or fresh, or whatever. And then he was like, yo, he gave us his number, and he said, yo, hit me, I'm gonna be here for a couple of more days. So basically we was like, oh shit, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, we celebrating at this time. So we called a nigga in a couple of days. That nigga said, I have y'all a plane ticket in like 3 days. Y'all be on your way to New York. We was like, yo, so we was like, wait, we getting signed to Def Jam? This shit is crazy. So we ended up flying back. So then that's when my partner started to notice that I was from New York, because they thought I was from California. They thought I was from LA. But when we got to New York, I went over to family house while they were sleeping up in Def Jam offices, you know? And so basically what happened, you got to understand, I was still like a young kid. I was a teenager. I thought I was going to quit school and become this rap superstar. But, you know, moms wasn't having it. So moms was like, you can do whatever you're going to do, but you're going to do that shit on, you know, Thanksgiving holiday, Christmas holiday, spring break, and in the summer. So basically what I did was I would just record songs. I would record 5, 6 of them at a time. And I was signed to Def Jam for 3 years. And but the thing about all of this is my producers, who was actually producing me, Muffler and Big Dad, they was still in New York, and they had nothing to do while they was out in New York, because I'm in California still going to school. So it was LL Cool J's turn to, you know, make a new album. He had radio, but radio was dying out. So they was like, okay. But Rick Rubin, I think, was like busy, and he couldn't get in the studio with them. So they said, hey, yo, why don't y'all get in the studio with LL and see what y'all come up with? And the rest is history. They ended up making Bigger and Deffer, where I'm Bad, I Need Love. All of that is LA Posse's production. And they also did Walking with a Panther. And they also, that sprung them into doing songs for Run DMC, Real Roxanne, Houdini, and a bunch of that stuff. So, you know, as I told my boys, you know, moving forward, like, I never talk shit. I always is the one that gives flowers. But like, you know what, I in no way am I saying I'm partially responsible for anyone's success. But I will tell you this, if it wasn't for me and me out there rhyming and getting us signed to Def Jam, some of the music that you've heard that's actually classic would have never been made. Now, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have made nothing else that would have been classic, but you wouldn't have got those records.
Who all was part of LA Posse?
LA Posse as a whole, it started with just me, Dwayne, which is Muffler, Daryl, which is Big Dad. Bobcat was my original DJ. But, you know, once Bobcat did Go Cut Create a Go for LL, and he scratched in the studio for LL, it was kind of like over. He kind of like asked, you know, Bob to be his DJ. And, you know, Bob came to me like a man and was like, yo, this is what happened. If you don't want me to do it, I won't do it. But I'm like, bro, you waiting just like me, man. If that's your shot, go take your shot. But the cool shit about it is he said, okay, well, look, I'm going to go do this, but I'm going to hook you up with somebody else. And I'm like, who? DJ Pooh. DJ Pooh became my second DJ. So basically it was me, Daryl, Muffler, Big Dad, Bobcat, DJ Pooh, was like part of that original like music crew LA Posse. And one other fun fact for you guys is how we even got the name LA Posse is on that original trip that we came out. We ended up being close with Jam Master Jay, another one, rest in power, brother. But we were riding down the West Side Highway, and he was like, "Yeah, I know all y'all names, but what they call y'all?" Everybody said their names. Like, nah, y'all need a name. And then somebody said the LA Crew, and then it was something, cats from LA, and then Jam Master Jay is the one said, "I know what it is, LA Posse. I'm gonna start calling y'all the LA Posse." So Jam Master Jay is the one who actually named us that.
When he picked y'all up from the airport?
Nah, we was just chilling. I think we was going to Nell's, like a nightclub or something like that. We was just riding, smoking, whatever we was doing. And he just came up with it like, "Hey, man, what they call y'all? We just can't keep saying them dudes from LA and what they call y'all." So it came up and he ended up naming us.
So as everybody broke off and started doing other things, what did you do?
Well, as they did that, what the funny thing happened is, I'm gonna tell you some crazy shit. As I was doing records, people was trying to cherry pick off my shit. They was trying to steal like certain tracks that I had. People, I'm talking about famous dudes. I ain't gonna name no names, but they was sitting up there trying to cherry pick my shit, right? So, and it went back and forth because it was like, whenever they made a beat for LL, I used to be like, damn, why I can't get that beat? Like, shit like that. Or when he made a beat for Run DMC, I'm like, why I can't get that beat? Well, same niggas was saying the same shit about, well, that's Bree shit. Well, Bree shit ain't coming out. Why can't I get that beat? Like, it's like, damn, right? So, basically what ended up happening is my contract ended up expiring because I was basically kind of like shelved. I mean, there was so much shit going on at Def Jam with the Beastie Boys, LL. It was just so much shit happening to where I was kind of like pushed to the background. And 3 years later, my contract expired. And it was like, these niggas don't even know my shit expired. So it's like, boom. So I'm like, I'm about to bounce. But, my boys are still loyal to me. Daryl, Dwayne, Muff, and Big Dad, they still loyal. So their whole shit is like, now they got their name up now. So their whole thing was like, okay, and we linked up with this prominent attorney, Steven Shapiro. I think Shapiro's still out there getting bread. He ended up getting us a production deal with Atlantic Records. And, I was like the featured artist. Well, they told Atlantic, we'll sign with y'all, but Bree's gotta be our featured artist. Def Jam was actually trying to stop me from leaving, but it was nothing that they could do. So basically, we got a production deal, and it was me, another group called the Wise Guys. Matter of fact, Big Ill ended up being down with Ill and Al Scratch. I know you remember When My Homies. Well, Big Ill was actually in a group called the Wise Guys. So it was me, the Wise Guys, and then they had LA Posse had to do an album. And it was crazy because while we was formulating LA Posse's album, we was like, how we gonna do it? Because first of all, y'all niggas y'all rap, but y'all not really rappers. Well, Muff don't really rap. Well, they kind of rap, but like, how we gonna do this? Okay, we gonna make this big ass compilation album. So we ended up finding so many acts that was supposed to be on this album that we could never get signed. I'll give you some good ones. We had Organized Confusion. Actually, we found them, couldn't get them signed. They was originally called, when we was fucking with them, they was called STP, Simply Positive MCs. We found Amel LaRue from Groove Theory. We couldn't get her signed. We found Monifa. Monifa ended up signing to, I think, Uptown. We couldn't get her signed. And then the big one that we had that we lost because we couldn't get her signed neither. We had Nikki D. We couldn't get Nikki D signed. And we also had Lady of Rage. And the craziest shit about Rage is Rage started, she wasn't even rapping. She was like beatboxing for this other girl. And we was looking at the girl like, she all right. And then the girl said, well, she rapped too. And when Rage spit, we all was like, are you kidding me? And, long story short, we couldn't get her signed, and we ended up introducing her to Drake because we was like, yo, if anybody could do anything with her, maybe Drake could do something with her. And, you know, shit, rest is Death Row history.
Dig that. So where did it go from the compilation out?
Well, as far as that was concerned, you know what, I was kind of, me as far as an artist, I'm gonna say one thing that, you know, somebody asked me a question. They said, well, if you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would you say to my younger self? And I said, you know, to my younger self, I would say is, bro, you are lucky, man. Success and hookups and the shit that I went through kind of happened pretty fast. And I thought it was just easy to navigate your way through the music industry. And you know, I had, you know, a little success. I, you know, did my little thing, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there was forces going on around me to where I started to see the behind the curtain of the music industry. And it was just, I wasn't feeling it. And my whole thing was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna jump ship. And I'm gonna get out of my deal and I'm gonna go someplace else to where I'm not under any constraints and I can do what I wanna do. But the way I left was kind of like, I kind of left not the way you're supposed to leave. And, you know, like from that point, there was just like forces behind the scenes that was kind of like holding me back from like doing anything. Like, I mean, I had 2 deals set up and miraculously they disappeared. The one good thing though about it is that
talking about when you left Def Jam?
When I left Atlantic.
Oh, when you left Atlantic.
When I left Atlantic. But the one cool thing is my man King T, was like my A1 day one. I've been knowing King T since, you know, he was a DJ. He wasn't even rapping. And this was like when I was in the Def Jam days. And, you know, Tila always made sure that whenever he had something, you know, because he, you know, 4 albums, 5 albums, that he always featured me on his album. So that's how we came up with the Just Clowning with me, him, and Mixmaster Spade, the Funky Piano with me, him, and Cube, Freestyle Ghetto with me, him, Exhibit, and the Licks. Like, I was always on one of his projects. And then, you know, later on, I did like, you know, a few little independent things. But when I started seeing like, you know, the doors for some reason just kept closing, as I said, that's when I started to, you know, kind of grew like, you know, animosity just towards the whole business. And, you know, that's then, you know, fast forward to 2007 when I did the little Nas Where Are They Now shit that Bobcat did. And I was like, I think I'm cool on this for a little while. And I kind of just shut it down like for years.
You think that was like greatly needed for you to come back, or were you just more or less just like never again?
Well, I will tell you this, man. While I wasn't in that forefront, I used to have people always ask me, yo, what are you doing? Like, hey, what's going on? Like, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't think I had, like, the right guidance around me because, you know, like, I'm still a young cat, man. Like, you know, when these young cats making certain decisions, you got to understand, like, you know, sometimes we don't always make the best decisions for ourselves. A lot of decisions is based on emotions, and we're just working emotionally. Where I should have just been thinking from a business perspective. And, you know, and I had to learn that the hard way. So eventually down the road, you know, I started to, you know, kind of see. And then, like I said, it's just that you have to kind of just develop that love for it. And now I'm just to the point now where I think that, you know, I have a lot to offer. I still think that I have a lot to say. And I still think that I could be extremely relevant doing what I'm doing. And matter of fact, I have a lot of work in the can right now as we were speaking, a solo project. I have a group project. I got a live music project that I'm doing as well. So it's like, you know, as I, you know, you were speaking on you and and coming real soon, man, I'm gonna start like, you know, we already mixing a lot of this shit down and I'm gonna just start just like, you know, hitting people with music again because like I said, I look at it like this. Do we all want to be Drake? Hell yeah, we all love to be Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Hell yeah, we would love to be on the radio all day, every day. Hell yeah, we would love to be worth 7 figures, 6, whatever. But when it comes down to it, if I can do something that I refound that love for and it can actually support my lifestyle, I'm good with that. I just want to be able to still express my voice and my views because I still think that, I have a lot to say and it's relevant.
We thought I was going to let you go ahead and just skate on past Play Like a Piano.
No, I said that for you.
Yeah, I got you, but you knew I was coming back. What was it with that, man? Come on, speak on it. What was it with that?
Play Like a Piano, man, I'm going to tell you, man, when Tila played me that beat, I was like, Jesus Christ. And if I'm not mistaken, was that Broadway? I think Broadway produced that. It was Pooh or Broadway, but I think it was Broadway. No, Broadway did something else. It might have, no, that's DJ Pooh. Excuse me, because we even mentioned him in the song. That's DJ Pooh. Mm-hmm. When he played me that record, I was just like, damn. And then I was just like, I said, what's the song called? He said, Funky Piano. I said, okay. And then hence the piano comes in. I'm like, okay. I was like, well, all right, so we did collabs before. Who gonna be on this one? He said, well, I'm gonna get Cube on this one. And this one, when Cube was like,
on fire.
That dude.
Yeah.
That dude. So my whole thing is I treat every collab that I'm doing, I don't care if we friends or not. My whole thing is like, I want to have the best first. And it was just like, so Tila put his part down. And I don't even think I heard Q's part. Well, no, Q's part had to be there. Q's part had to be there. So then when I heard Do Re Mi, but I don't sing, motherfucker, I shit with the king, I was like, ooh, okay. So, and then the crazy shit about it is, first of all, I was fucked up. I'm like, why I'm last? Usually like the hottest nigga go last. Like, Cube's supposed to be last. Like, how. So then, once again, we just get in competition mode, and I wrote what I wrote, and there's like, if you listen to it, there's a little subliminal shots here and there from, things that I've been through. I know, not to nobody that was on the record, but I mean, it was just like one of those, okay, you know what, I kind of get to vent right now, and I kind of just need to just talk my shit. And that was just my whole goal of that. I just wanted to talk that shit. And then once the record was done, you know what? It's crazy because how many years ago was that record done? 25, almost 30, probably 30 years like ago. 30 and years that's ago. Still one of the, on King T Show, that's still the most favorite song, I think. Well, I mean, a few others, but that's one of the most favorite songs that he does in his show is Play Like a Piano. But the one thing I really regret, though, this is the one thing that, is I never got a chance. We've never had a chance to all three of us be on the stage at the same time and actually perform that song. And I hope before this shit is all said and done, we can actually make that happen.
Word up. We're going to have to figure that one out.
Exactly.
I would tell you go ahead and spit your verse so that they can understand, but they going to have to, they going to have to, nah, hell no. Cube ain't fucking with us. Hell nah. Fuck around, shut some shit down.
You know
what I mean? Be doing free work for the big three around this world.
You know what I mean? You gonna be sweeping, swiping up sweat and
shit. You know what I mean? But dig it though. We gonna get into a bunch of other stuff, but you know what I mean? The people will find out as we go into the next phase of what we're gonna get into. So y'all gonna see more of Breeze and everything right now. He just wanted to give you his introduction. You got anything you wanna say on this one?
Man, you know what? Look, man, for those who know me, keep knowing me. For those who don't know me, get to know me. And, this ain't it, man. And I just want to say, man, like, look, man, there's a lot of shit that, needs to be exposed and uncovered because, there's a lot of history in this game because I just want everybody to know rap didn't start with fucking Death Row. There was a lot of shit that went on before Death Row became. And don't get me wrong, Death Row and Aftermath and Doggy Style and all of that, man, there's nothing greater that was ever done for West Coast music until that happened. But it's a lot of shit that happened before they even got to that stage, and I just aim to just uncover some of that for y'all.
But as we see, what's the get down? This is LA Breeze. We'll see y'all soon.
I'm on that brainwash, full rollout, anonymous. Underplay to overplay, strategic, I promise. More dope brings more Negroes. Watch them heroes, pro lethal. Dream killers feast on people. Nubius indeed, mine on the hunt. Paul Bear, sharp fluid, gates and piston bumps. No excuses, that's a sin. Back to the begin. Muscle memory, pseudo respect and revenge. Plays blindfolded, a bucket list with interest. Forgiveness, the shadows and mirrors who handle business. Legacy, all grind, no guest list. Land in jurisdiction, make you bread prejudice. For the purists and the tourists, Q sticky for ghetto jurors. Swing high, swing low, you forgot that we do this. Bank selection, smooth DR vibe. Underground icon, you have now been gentrified.